You're such an asshole.
All right, strap yourselves in for a long one, kiddies, because Cappy's got to do some economics. I will tell the client, in all honesty, look, guys, you could have looked this stuff up yourself, but he insisted on paying me, and I charge a pretty penny to explain this, so, you know, you don't always need Cappy to explain it for you, but there is Google. Remember, YouTube is a better father than most fathers today when it comes to teaching mechanics and computer repair. So this young man writes, "Hey Aaron, these 3 questions, customer here. Good job. One more follow-up question for you when you're ready. I sent you a link. I'm not sure you'll need it. I'm trying to find out, and I'd like to know if you could baby step or dumb down this for me. If I were to visit the Czech Republic, I'm trying to find out a certain group of things such as GDP, GDP per capita, and purchasing power parity. I don't understand them at all. I read in Bachelor Pad Economics that it had overseas info, as you've written, but also stated that the info was unsorted and hard to find." Alright, let's start with these before we go on to the other metrics. Let's just talk about what they are. Alright, GDP is a pointless measure unless you're trying to compare sizes of countries, because comparing the United States GDP to a small country, say Costa Rica, doesn't make sense because Costa Rica maybe has 1 million people, and I don't know. And the United States has 320 million people. So GDP is all the economic production that country makes in a year. All right. Or another way to look at it is how much did people in that country make in the year? And you add up all the salaries, you add them all up, that's your GDP. They're not perfectly analogous. They are very directly related. But just how much stuff, how much wealth did we produce in 1 year? Okay. The reason it's pointless is because that doesn't mean anything unless you know how many people are in it. You could have a GDP of 300,000, you know, a country could have a production of $300,000. You're like, well, that's kind of sympathetic. Well, if it's one guy, a one-person country, that's actually very productive. That would be the richest country in the world on a per capita basis. So what they do is they take GDP and they divide it by the population, and you get GDP per capita. In the olden days, you would say income per capita. This is, again, the same thing. I know economist nerds. I know it's not exactly the same thing. We're not even dumbing it down. We need economists not to be anal retentive and literal. And so that's kind of an idea of, gives you an idea of how wealthy, how rich is that country. The wealthier, the better, because that means you got more stuff, there's more production, there's less crime, there's less destitution, your facilities, your infrastructure is usually in better shape. So let's take a look at the Czech Republic GDP per capita. And there's different measures on how they do it. Nominal, they do it purchasing power parity. Wow, they haven't come back from the Great Recession. Look at that. All right, so the Czech Republic is at 18,000 and change GDP per capita. Gross national income. Oh, that's interesting. So that's a difference. That's 31,000. Trading economics. There's various measures. 32,000. All right, so right now we got all these different figures coming in. What I like to do is the official source I like to go to is OECD.org, Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. There are other established places that would give you a reputable or an accurate measure. IMF.org, even the World Factbook. That would be probably best for you to go visit, maybe read through the CIA's World Factbook for the Czech Republic, because not only will it give you GDP, it will give you a very good summation of the economic and political situation in any country, and the Czech Republic is one of them. So, GDP per capita is 36,300. I'm going to go with that figure for the Czech Republic. And then let's go to the World CIA Factbook just in case. And it should denote whether it's adjusted for purchasing power parity. World CIA Factbook. Czech Republic. Go to economy. Economy. Prosperous market economy boasts one of the highest GDP growth rates and lowest unemployment levels in the EU, but it's dependent on exports and makes economic growth vulnerable. Oh, that's why its GNI was higher than its GDP. Czech's export comprised 80% of GDP and largely consists of automobiles, the country's single largest export. Okay, interesting. Czechia was acceded to the EU in 2004, but has yet to join the Eurozone. Ba-da-ba, ba-da-ba, ba-da-ba. Purchasing power parity. Growth. 4Z, 3Z, 2Z, 5Z. Not bad. GDP per capita, 2017, 36,000. Okay, let's call it 36,000. That's, I'd say that's first world. High second, low first world. So you do, wow, gross national saving, 27% GDP. Not bad at all. This is a good country. This is not bad at all. Now let me go back to your questions, make sure I'm answering them all. So we have GDP and we have GDP per capita. The average person in the Czech Republic makes around $36,000 a year. Not bad. Here's the question it gets to is like, hey, does $2 get me there the same thing as here? Because if you go to Norway, the Norwegians, oh my gosh, the left cannot suck the dick of Scandinavia enough. And they say, look at how successful and wonderful it is. Well, the problem is, they make some of these, sometimes 80 depending on the price of oil, $1,000 per year in Norway. But a Big Mac costs $12. And wait, that's Switzerland. What is a Big Mac? Anyway, the whole point is, you make this much money when we exchange kroners or euros, whatever currency, to dollars. But does that get you the same purchasing power parity? Because yes, the market exchange rate between the US dollar and whatever it is out there may be X, but does X get you the same purchasing power in the United States? So if you take let's say $5 US should get you a Big Mac in the United States, or a Big Mac meal. If I translate that to Norwegian kroners, however many kroners I get, in theory that should buy me the same Big Mac. That does not happen all the time. And what that is called purchasing power parity. Now, if we do just a direct translation at market rates between the exchange rates of currencies, you take GDP per capita, you convert it into US dollars, that doesn't mean they have $36,000 worth of purchasing power. So what they do is they usually denote PPP, purchasing power parity, and most GDP figures should be already adjusted for it. So when we look at the World CIA Factbook or the OECD, the income per capita, that $36,000, roughly should translate to owning or making $36,000 in the United States. A way to check how skewed purchasing power is to look at the Big Mac Index. This is put out by, I think, The Economist. And it's not perfect, but it'll give you an idea of whether or not figures are overstated and understated and looking at actual purchasing power. So let's take a look at the Big Mac Index. Big Burgernomics. The Economist. This is put out in July of 2018. No, Economist, I don't want to subscribe to you. Okay, the Big Mac Index. Why do you do it? Why can't you just list the numbers? Oh, they did this cute fartsy thing. Let's take a look at the Czech Republic. Switzerland, Sweden, Lebanon, Singapore, Colombia, Czech, Costa Rica. Where's the Czech Republic? So it looks like it's the koruna is the Czech Republic's currency, and based on the purchasing power economics, you get 38% more purchasing power. Now I'm going to assume that the $37,000 GDP per capita has already been adjusted for that. But if you were to take nominal rates on the international exchange between the currencies, you find out GDP per capita in the Czech Republic is like 20,000. Maybe that's the figure we're looking at before. You say, well, wait a minute. Okay, we know that's at the exchange rate, but things are so cheap in the Czech Republic. It's 38% cheaper in the Czech Republic than it is the United States. So I'm pretty sure that's what it is, but that is where you would look at saying, okay, will $2 buy me a lot more in this country? And in the Czech Republic, yes, roughly your dollar will go 38% further than the nominal exchange rates. So rent may be, whatever. It would seem expensive in koruna, whatever the Czech Republic. But when you're buying and transacting in dollars, you buy that koruna. It's more like $800 a month for a one-bedroom apartment in a decent part of town. Things are not going to be perfectly analogous like that burgers are different than rents, but roughly your dollar is going to go further in the Czech Republic than what you think. Trying to find out difference of currency, exchange rate, peso. I'm also trying to find anything cost of living comparison. Yeah, so that's what we did. The cost of living comparison is salary rate. All right, so now we've talked about purchasing power parity. Now when it comes to cost of living comparison and salary rate, there's usually some kind of websites out there that have a cost of living adjustment. There's one certainly for the United States going from town to town. Let's take a look at cost of living calculator, Czech Republic. And here we go. Overseas COLA calculator. This looks like it comes from Defense Travel Department of Defense. This makes sense. The Department of Defense has, military personnel everywhere. Hey, what do I need to make a living over here in the Czech Republic? Section I can go. Really? All right, so this has a cost in between and the. Okay, so here's Numbero. Consumer pricing at 35% lower, 40% lower, rent prices, all this. Yeah, I think this may even be the link you sent me. Is this it? Numbero cost of comparing cities, United States, Czech Republic. Prague, right? So you're already ahead of the game here. You're already calculating what the cost of living is. Yeah, it's a lot cheaper over there. CPI figures in general 37%, consumer price on rent 50%, rent prices 66%. This is you comparing it to Los Angeles. So yeah, things are a lot cheaper over there. So what you gotta do is take the exchange rate currently, translate your dollars into korunas, and you say, okay, this koruna is gonna get me though roughly 40% more in purchasing power, right? At the current market rates or market prices over in the Czech Republic. So yeah, you did good. So if you're in LA, yeah, that website is really cool, and that'll go down to the U.S. cities. Yeah, I just found the one that went to the U.S. state. So to give you the example, for example, Texas cost of living in that country makes $2 per hour. Does that mean $2 American, or is it like $10 American domestically? It's not 10. That'd be a 0.25% valuation. But if we take 0.4, can you do the math? I used to be able to do math. Let's do that. 2 divided by 0.4 is 8. No. Divided by 0.4. 5. No, that's wrong. I did the math wrong on that. 1.4 times 2. That's more. There we go. So $2.8 dollars. So if you made $2 per hour here in the United States, that's like making $2.80 over in the Czech Republic. So obviously you want to make more than $2.80. Also, some people say, as the black market isn't added, statistical and global measures don't matter, as poorer countries make more in GDP. That is also true. I don't think you have to worry about it in the Czech Republic. It's borderline first world. Their laws are very clear. I'm sure they clamp down on the black market. But this is hard to measure, because how do you measure something that's illegal? And even GDP is hard to measure. And that's with everybody, sending in their data for taxes and publicly traded firms to the government and all that, and then they can make some reasonably accurate calculations. But how do you know how many drugs were transacted in the United States? How many illegal firearms came into the United States? How much prostitution took place? How much sale of illegal goods took place in the United States? That's hard. But you can assume, you go to the Republic of Chad, okay, this is where you get those figures. Oh, they live on $800 a year. No, they don't live on $800 a year. They live on significantly more than that. I mean, they're not rich, but they live significantly more than that because they're trading drugs and khat and whatever, as a prostitution. So there is more money being transacted in the black market. So you always add a little bit more depending on how corrupt the country is. In the United States, maybe 5%. At most 7% GDP. I could be wrong. There are economic studies that calculate how much larger the black market economy is than the regular one. But with the Czech Republic, I'm also going to assume it's not that significant a percentage of the economy. And unless you're trading in the black market and committing crime and stealing and dealing drugs, it's almost irrelevant to you as a law-abiding citizen how big the black market is in the Czech Republic or any country. I mean, it certainly helps. I'm all for the black market. I'm all for drug traffic, man. You deal. You go, hey, you gangsters want to go deal your drugs and make yourselves millions of dollars and not get caught, go right ahead. Go right ahead. Build up nice mansions, employ people, provide for your families. I wish you wouldn't shoot each other, but, you know, I have no problem with the underground economy. Poor countries. As you can see, I'm not getting it. Anything else you can add? No, I think you're getting it. You logically deduced, hey, I got to go and calculate for this purchasing power. You provided the link, so you are getting it. I don't think you're wrong, but hopefully I explained it all to you. And anything else you can add? By the way, you don't have a GDP per capita video on your channel, so I hope this will make a fine addition to my collection. Thanks again. Named your price, Dan. Well, thank you, Dan. So yeah, there you go. You know, that's basically what GDP per capita, and adjusting for the translation in prices. I would use this Numbeo cost of living adjuster before I'd use the Big Mac index. The Big Mac index is just quick and dirty. But yeah, as you saw, it was quite accurate. It said the Corona was 38% undervalued, and here Numbeo said it was about 40%, so that happened to be quite accurate. But yeah, do those calculations. If you go over to the Czech Republic, you got to do those calculations. Calculate what they're offering you in Koruna, convert that into US dollars, and say, well, wait a minute, I got to tack on an extra 40% because that's what it is here. Or that's what's going to be there over in the Czech Republic. All right, that's it. You guys got questions? Cappy's got answers over on ASLconsulting.com. We'll see you all later. Toodles.